So, welcome to my tournament report and my deck profile. I went Nymph place in the CCG or CLG event in Karlsruhe with Nekroz. And yeah, I'll just get into the deck profile. I played 2 Trish. Mostly people would say 1 Trish is enough, but in this case I wanted to Trish a bit more consistently, and Trishula came actually quite often, and even the second Trishula came in quite often. If I Trish my opponent, I often would want to Trish them a second time, so the 1 Trish remaining in the deck was really helpful and helped me close to seal the deal sometimes, because 1 Trish wasn't enough most of the time. Then I played 3 Valkyries. Absolutely mandatory, of course. He's absolutely mad. He can end the battle phase, stop OTKs, and if you break, you can try to summon him and unbrick your hand by tributing tribute fodder or just dead cards in general. He's your main way to stay in the game with your resources. We play 1 Brionek, of course. Jokes on me. Yeah, that's mandatory and obviously. Also 1 Unicorn is also pretty obvious. And triple Clauseless is also pretty obvious. Helps you search your spells pretty often. Pretty fast. Then we played Cyber Angel Benton together with 1 Archlord Christia. I actually wanted to play the non-ritual lineup of the Nekroz at first, but during testing it came up that they were way too inconsistent to actually do well in a larger tournament. So what I decided to play was to use Benton as tribute fodder, since not only Benton is only 2 cards and searchable by many more, while the non-rituals are only searchable by Brionek, by me, and it would just lead to break way more often. And also the plays Benton granted me were way too explosive. If I top decked, for example, a Benton, I could banish off rituals to get a cycle Brionek back, get a Manju, go on from there and whatnot. It just it's way more explosive on shorter terms. On longer terms, I think the non-rituals have a higher ceiling, but I wanted to make explosive plays consistently in a relatively short amount of time. So I settled for Benton instead. Oh, and Archlord Christia is a nice addition to the deck, because there are some combos where you can turbo her out, which came quite in handy quite often, but this isn't a Christia turbo build. While summoning her is pretty nuts, it's not the main goal of the deck, to be honest. I only won a few games with Christia, actually. I didn't go for the Christia combo most of the time, because either my opponent would have Disruption or I would just be forced to play through Disruption because I chose to go second. Which, by the way, this deck is meant to go second, so it's fine. Then we were playing triple Manju, 2 Senju, and triple Gale Dogra, which is kind of obvious. The 3 Gale Dogras are especially good with Benton, because there are many combos with Valkyries. 2 + 6 is 8, and you can get your Christia pretty easily that way. Also, Dogra is just way more versatile, with not only Herald to pitch to search, but also enters to pop certain things or threats. 2 Senju is also kind of obvious, and triple Manju is also pretty obvious. 8 normal summons is the best ratio, mathematically speaking, with whereas playing 8 has the highest probability of opening 1 if you're playing 40 or 41 cards. We played 3 Preparation of Rites, obviously, 2 Mirror, 2 Kaleido, and 2 Cycle. It's just a standard ritual lineup. I don't agree with playing 3 of any of these, besides Cycle maybe, but even that kind of clogs. I don't agree with Free Kaleidoscope at all. While it is pretty good to open it, it's only a starter card, and if you're in the middle of the game top decking a Kaleido or someone in or similar is just not good. Mirror is decent. It's definitely good at 2, and Cycle is honestly one of the best ritual spells. I would probably... Cycle is definitely one of the more important ritual spells, and the hit in the OCG on Cycle is actually pretty... hurts the deck actually pretty well. I would even consider bumping it to 3, but I don't think I would, because, again, it's just too cloggy, but I sometimes wish for a third one in the grind game. Then for the hand trap lineup, we're playing 2 Ash, 2 Ghost Ogre, triple Gamma, one driver, and triple evenly matched. Shoutouts to my local store for borrowing me one evenly, and shoutouts to my to a local friend of mine, to Pepe, we call him. Yeah. Ash and Ogre are kind of obvious because they stop most of the plays. Often, why not play 3 of these and cut 1? They are more versatile if having a greater variety of hand traps is actually allows for more versatility in that aspect. While Ash, of course, is pretty nuts against most of the decks. Against Pendulum, opening only Ash, it would kind of be problematic. So having probabilities equal out for both of them actually is kind of decent. And I can't noticeably go over the 40 card limit, so that's also one kind of big of a problem. Triple Gamma was honestly absolutely mad. It is insane how good Gamma is. It won me a lot of games actually. Gammaing is something from your opponent was just insanely strong and stopped their plays immediately. And even if you top deck driver like what feels like every second game like I did, or even every game, like it felt like I top deck driver every game, but even then Gamma was just absolutely mad. And honestly, I wouldn't really want to play evenly matched, but then again, if you're playing hand traps, it loses pretty hard to the Draco matchup, since if your opponent summons just Amano Iwato and that's it. No way to counterplay from there, and you just pretty much lose on the spot if they have something more threatening. So evenly was intended against 2 Draco. But I didn't get to play True Draco, to be honest. So that was kind of dumb. It didn't come very well in this tournament. So that much for the main deck. To the extra deck. We're playing cherry targets, Toad, Electromite and Seraphonite. Those are just cherry targets. I guess playing Helix and Mechaba would have come a bit better in my opinion, but yeah, statistically speaking, those were the matchups I was most afraid of, where cherry would come decent. One Underclock Taker. There's this combo with Ragnar Zero, which I'm playing 1 of 2, where you're linking away Ragnar Zero and Brionac in order to get 4 fairies in the grave. Usually you would link Mr. Boy for that, but the extra deck doesn't really have much space, and Underclock Taker is way more versatile in that opinion. In that aspect, I mean. 1 Dweller, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Baguska, the Utopia package, 1 Sideframe Lord Omega, and for the Kaleido fodder, we're playing 2 Herald of the Arclights. 1, I don't know what his guy is in English. Assault Blackwing, something with 12. Something level 12. And and Elder Entity enters. Elder Entity enters is just mandatory, especially if you're playing Gale Dogra. You can out on disgusting things with Entis with ease and threaten many things with just having Entis in your extra deck, which is kind of which comes in handy quite a lot. Also, and what I would recommend for playing as a 12 fodder is something with no useful effects, such as Ultimate Blue Eyes or that guy. He's just indestructible. He's not able to be destroyed or something. A really irrelevant effect, because what would happen most of the time is your Pendulum opponent getting out their Starving Venom Dragon and copying one of your monsters, which is kind of inconvenient if we would have a Quasar in there, for example. So yeah, that concludes the extra deck. For the side deck, I played... Of course, the side deck is up to your taste, but for me, what worked pretty well was just a really generic side deck, just five Kaijus, 3 Gameciel, 2 Commongous, and a Slumber. Because I really didn't want to lose to Masterpiece or similar tower monsters. They came up most of the time. They were good against Invoked, for example. Triple Winter Cherries for the cherry targets. And I also really hated Nekroz, so I played Triple Cyclone to Twin Fister to combat that. They came up pretty often too, and I designed my side deck in order to destroy Draco, in fact. Funnily enough, they're also pretty good against Reveries, which I have a grudge against, but that's kind of irrelevant for now. So yeah, for the tournament report, my first game was against Reverie Painters, with Masterpiece tech inside. I won the game 2-0, which is kind of, yeah. Game 1 was a bit weird, but game 2 I just decided in 6 back row removals and some Kaiju, so that was it practically. Game 2 I had a feature match against Pendulums. I will link the feature matches in the description. I beat Pendulum Magicians 2-0, I think, due to my opponent misplay once, I think. But yeah, that was a pretty great duel nonetheless, and shoutouts to the guy I fought. Game 3 was against True King Dino, to which I unfortunately lost. Even though my opponent bricked, I had bricked harder, and at one point in the game he would even Twin Fister his own Imperial Order to ditch Overtax Cordless to summon Ultimate Conductor, and he would pretty much win anyway. It was not nice, and I didn't draw my Kaijus in time. Game 4 I played against Infernoid Invoked. Game 1 was a pretty hefty grind game, which was kind of hard to deal with. Game 2, my opponent unfortunately bricked withdrawing 2 Meltdown and triple terraforming, so I kind of feel bad for him too. And yeah, Game 5 was on a feature match again, playing against Infernoid Invoked. I easily won that 2-0. The feature match is in the description below. I got featured twice, which is kind of nice. And yeah, Game 5 I played against Spiral, which I lost 0-2, because Sleeper is just an unfair card, and I count out Resort plus... Holy shit. I count out Resort plus Last Resort on Sleeper, if I were to go second. It was the only time where evenly matched was kind of okay, and even then it wasn't very good, because if I wanted to Trish him afterwards, he would just pop his own Sleeper, and Trish wouldn't even resolve, which was kind of a bummer. So yeah, after those 6 rounds, I went 4-2, and I got Nymph Place due to my awkward time break, so I unfortunately didn't get to top 8, but it would have been fun if I did. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll try to make more videos later, I guess. And I would be happy to answer any questions or similar in the comments down below if you would want to. And also we have our own Nekroz Discord server in case you're interested in playing the deck somehow and try to get to talk about how it works, etc. It may sound odd, but yeah. Link to it is also in the description down below. So yeah, thank you very much, and maybe up till next time.